Hello there. Yes, I'm just live because this is what I would call an emergency stream. This was not planned. What happened? Well, episode 11 of REZero Season 4 happened. And I already watched it 3-4 times. It was such a banger. For context, if you are new here, I am a huge REZero fan. The first season released, I looked at it, and my first vibe was, this isn't for me. I hadn't seen a single episode. I just saw season 1, some images and everything. I was like, this isn't the show for me. The art style kinda doesn't do it for me. So I was someone who was sleeping on REZero for quite a while. Then we had a global pandemic. Don't know if you guys remember about that. And I decided to watch REZero. Season 2 was already releasing, and it really conquered my tastes. It's not the perfect show. I don't believe in such a thing. I love writing as a craft, and I think writing is about making decisions. It's about compromising. If you try to please everyone, you will end up with a show that pleases no one. I'm a huge defender of that, so I won't say that REZero is flawless. I think it's just a show that really targets what I want to a T, and this final episode before the break really encompasses that. So I decided, against my usual content, against my usual planning style, you know what? Let's just go live and talk about it. And I already see Michan over there on Twitch. Hello. Why isn't the chat showing up? Mr. Twitch chat? Test. 1, 2, 3. That's why I usually plan everything. When you don't plan everything, things go wrong. Weird. If I go to another screen, would that fix it? We'll see if things get better later. We'll see in time. But yes, I'm live. This episode, there was a lot of build-up towards this episode. I saw that a lot of people were talking, and I think it was a very packed episode. Like, non-stop, and it was really good. First thing I gotta talk about is, I think, Yusuke Kobayashi, Natsuki Subaru's voice actor. There's a lot of voice actors who are iconic and who have great roles. For example, the first example that comes to my mind when I think about an iconic voice actor is Dio. Kono Dio, right? Such an iconic voice and such an iconic role. I don't know the name of every single voice actor, so I do apologize for that, but that's an iconic one. There's a few. I feel like the anime adaptation of REZero wouldn't be as good without him voicing Subaru. The range in this episode, the way he oscillates from shouting and, like, next moment, like shouting in tears and his voice cracking, and next moment just weak, like whimpering voice, like the way he changes the register and then just unleashes the rage and the frustration. It's so good. Michan, why isn't your chat showing up on the screen? I have no idea what is happening. Twitch chat should be working. I wonder if it's not a me problem. This episode... Okay, first let's talk about REZero in general. Oh, chat is working. Thank you, Michan. Thank you. 70 stream streak. I do appreciate the contest support. Probably you're the number 1 in stream streak. I think number 2 is Felon. But yes. One of the things that first turned me off of REZero is first the visuals were a bit too colorful for my taste. It seemed very happy. And second, it was the misery. Like, if you're a REZero fan, you know that Subaru gets through a lot, and we love that from REZero. But what was my fear? I don't like when shows just use violence or suffering of a character in a meaningless, glorifying way. For me, that is the approach that I do not enjoy. And I don't really enjoy a tone of inevitable despair. When the tone of a series is the world is horrible, despair is inevitable, everything is horrible, I don't like that. However, REZero has a lot of suffering, but that is not the tone in the show. The tone of REZero is that we live in a world of suffering, Subaru even in a worst one, but suffering is there to be overcome. It is a story about triumph, and one of the reasons why this episode 11 or episode 77, which is entitled REZero Starting Life in Another World, which is a great title for the episode. Why I think the episode works so well is that it was a reaffirmation of those topics. We had once again Subaru retreating to his lowest level. We had Subaru being destroyed by despair, and this was a return and a reaffirmation of this isn't a show about despair, this is a show about overcoming it. Another thing that I really enjoyed in this episode, it was also a reaffirmation of Subaru's morals. Subaru is not the strongest character physically. He is extremely witty and intelligent. I think a lot of people don't give enough credit to how much of an intelligent character he can be at a lot of times. But one of his strengths is that he's a good guy. He doesn't see himself as such, and that was basically the arc of season 2, arc number 4, exactly, arc 4. The main thematic of that arc was Subaru confronting himself, learning to rely on others and everything, and also learning his self-worth, his self-love. And one of his greatest strengths that he didn't realize was that, okay, he has friends. Why does he have friends? Because he's kind. Why does he save Beatrice? Because he's persistent, because he's kind, because the main reason why he saves Beatrice is because he wants to save her. That is his number one strength, is his motivation and determination. And in this season, we often see in the if routes, a lot of people are really want Subaru to be evil. A lot of the fandom has kind of like a catharsis, has a release moment. I think it is a part of it, and I think that's why also Tappei Nagatsuki writes those if stories. It's like Subaru goes through so much, there's so much injustice, why doesn't he just snap? There's a certain catharsis that is delivered in the if routes, where Subaru can become the main villain, where Subaru turns on everyone, when Subaru can quote-unquote destroy Reinhardt, not by defeating himself, not by defeating him, but because Reinhardt is an hero. An hero is all that he can be. A hero exists to protect, and Subaru takes away everything that Reinhardt could ever protect. So there's some timelines where Subaru is definitely the biggest villain of the show. But if we look at the timeline, what we see is that Subaru is an extremely flawed character. One of my greatest moments of that flaw was even his first conflict with Amelia, when he got angry. when he and Amelia had basically a different interpretation of what was happening. He has a certain solitude that is unique to Subaru because his own perspective of the world is unique to him. He cannot speak about return by death. People around him cannot understand what he's going through. That causes a dissonance, a cognitive dissonance. But he, in his own mind, his perspective, his narrative was kind of developing into, because I suffer, I deserve everything. That's kind of his flaw in the capital that Julius beats out of him. And but I lost my train of thought. That I'm doing a stream and it feels like I'm recording a video. I hope this VOD is successful. If this VOD is successful, if you're watching the VOD and you enjoy watching someone who just likes REZero and wants to go live randomly to talk about REZero, that's literally what this stream is. Please leave a like and a comment in the VOD. And hello, Vexel, good to see you on Twitch chat. What was I going through? Yeah, I was talking about Subaru's morality. He is tempted sometimes to go evil, but at the end of the day, despite having Super Mario dancing on my head, this season really reaffirmed Subaru as a character with morals. Like, a lot of people, there was a lot of talk online because of Happy Birthday Daniel, because of the funk, because of Subaru climbing the stairs, going "Kudos, kudos, 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 kudos." That moment, I love retelling that moment. There was a lot of online discourse about if that's a good or a bad moment. For me, the main thing that makes that moment great in that episode is how Subaru is going through the motions, going cross, finishes climbing up the stairs, sees Shala's body, and just goes, ah! Like, and then he's even tempted by Melee, the spirit of Melee, to attack one of his friends who he's forgot. He's tempted by it. There are rewards from that. He's seen himself as someone who attacked them. He has doubts about his identity. And then we have the complete denial out of Subaru. The fact that, like, if he never got tempted, it's like he never faced it. This season brought us a fresh new Subaru, tempted him with immoral choices that could have benefited him greatly, and it wasn't even a conscious decision. He was incapable of causing direct harm. If you think about it, the only character in the entire show that Subaru has defeated directly so far was Betelgeuse Romani Conti. And hello there, Crud Toast. I'm going a little bit back and forth. I haven't talked much about the episode that we saw today. And yeah, we had the opening sequence with Ram and... well, let me open... I can't share the episode because copyright sort of thing, but I can have it silent on my own screen, and that will be a reminder, will help me navigate throughout the episode. Yeah, you have the opening sequence, and for me, the main part of the opening sequence is that it just raises questions. This season so far has raised so many questions, and one of the things I enjoy about REZero is that it is a show that I think the main gem of the show, the main reason why it's so good, is the emotional exploration of the characters. It is the emotional depth of the characters, and how you see a side character, you think there's not a lot to it, and then they have a moment to shine, and the way emotions are conveyed and explored is really good. And of course, the main character at doing that is our lovely protagonist Natsuki Subaru. Let me just read Krantos' comment. I like this season because it achieved one thing that I thought would be impossible at this point, which is to like Ram. Oh, that is interesting, because Ram is not one of my favorite characters, nor one of my least favorites. Ram for me is, in personal taste, I think she's a good character, but she's on the middle of the scale for me. But I've heard a lot of people online that really got angry at Ram this season, because they're like, Subaru is going through so much, why are you so mean to him? But I think it also makes sense from Ram's perspective. Same, but I liked her a lot in this season. Yeah, she had a more prominent role. I mean, in season 2, I liked her exchange with Roswell. The end of that episode, the moment where she takes the Roswell's gospel and we have the music in the background, you have Puck showing up, you have the ice and everything, ice and fire, a song of fire and ice, hahaha. And she steals the gospel, and you have that slow motion scene where Roswell has the flashback. Like, I really enjoyed that moment in season 2. But I think Ram had spikes of cool moments in season 2, but I think season 4 she was more overall present. But yes, we start with a moment of Subaru right at the end of last episode, being captured and judged by Ram and Emilia. And as I said, I'm not an anime only. How I consume ReZero, that's an important context that I should have provided at the start of the stream / VOD. I'm currently watching season 4 of the anime. I follow new stuff through the anime. I finished reading the light novel up to volume 15 and ReZero X up to volume 3, and I've read some of the if routes. So I read the light novel and there are some bangers there, some details that are missing from the anime or that are shown different, like Omega's appearance and things like that. I feel like if you like to do ReZero fan theories and going to theory crafting and knowing all the details, the light novel is better. But right now I have no spoilers, and since I have no spoilers for season 4, I am extremely lost about a lot of things that are happening. Even in this episode, we have that moment where Reed shows up and it's like, why are you here? Like, Subaru asked that, Julius asked that, I also asked the same, why are you here? And then we even have the planting of another seed of mystery, because ReZero's mysteries also always have 2 layers. There's 2 layers to the mysteries of ReZero. Layer 1 is the hurdle of the arc, the challenge of the arc. Usually each arc is a puzzle to be solved, and that puzzle is a mystery, and that's why Return by Death is strong in Subaru's hands, because Return by Death is superb for solving puzzles. Subaru's challenges mostly throughout the anime are not winning fights, they are solving puzzles. And then we have the overarching puzzles, like I mean, if you saw the flashback with Betelgeuse and Emilia's childhood, and like, we know that I think Emilia's father is a gray-haired elf, and we saw none of that. We saw the Witch of Wrath that I believe to be Emilia's mother, but we have no idea. Like, there's so many overarching plot lines. There's the fact that Subaru also means Pleiades in Japanese, and also means to unite, and also means the 7 sisters. And in the 7 stars of the Pleiades constellation, one of them is shines less, and that could be a reference to one of the sisters. One of the Pleiades is Satella, who is shining less. Like, there's so many levels to the mysteries. You have to study the scenes, you even have to study, like, there's the 7 scenes, and if you watch anime, you've watched Full Metal Alchemist, you've watched Nanatsu no Taizai. Like, there's so many anime that have the concepts of 7 sins. And then you get ReZero, and you have Vainglory and Melancholy showing up. And you go to research the origin of the sins, and you realize that originally the sins, like the definition of the 7 deadly sins, was going back and forth. And Vainglory is kind of named as one of the first sins, like the sin that originates all others. And then you have Melancholy as well in the Catholic lore. So ReZero has a lot of puzzles, and those puzzles are intertwined with the lore of our reality. And that means that if you want to theorize, you will fall into a bottomless pit. I have fallen into that bottomless pit, and I love every single second of it. I should have done this stream a longer time ago, because I just keep losing myself in the flow, in the all the topics that have been building up on my mind. I've been dwelling on all these theories. But yes, we start the episode with Ram and Emilia judging Subaru. Then we have once again on those weirdness, and then okay, time skip or something, and then Reed is there, and Natsuki Subaru is here, is written all over the walls. And I love the parallelism of when I first saw the walls scribbled, I didn't read what it was written, and I thought something would have happened and Emilia would have written in the walls to motivate Subaru. My first glance before reading what was written, I was like, oh, as Subaru wrote on the walls to motivate Emilia, now Emilia wrote on the walls like, you can do it, Gambare, and to support Subaru. No. We have the freaking Natsuki Subarus were here lining the walls. We meet Raid. Raid says, oh, I have some unfinished business I must solve. Once again, planting more seeds into the overarching theories of ReZero. Then we have Julius fighting against the horses. Raid just shows up, they resume their fight, and I mean, if they fight, we know what's going to happen. And then we have the first superb moment of the episode, which is Subaru breaking down in front of Echidna / Anastasia and Beatrice. It is so freaking good. And once again, we have the parallels. This reminds me of the moment when Subaru snapped. He even says the terms himself, I have snapped. But the first time we see Subaru snap like that, like losing all strength and falling apart and breaking down, it is in the Emilia left pillow scene, which is one of my favorite scenes of all of ReZero. Subaru just saying, oh, I can't do it, I can't talk about, and Emilia's like just comforting him. And here, once again, we will have Emilia being the one who comforts Subaru after he snaps, but with a delay. It doesn't happen immediately. We have Subaru at the true cinema indeed, yeah. I can't raise my VTuber hands, but right now I'm doing the absolute cinema pose. But yeah, Subaru filled with guilt. And that's the thing, this also shows how much the story changes and how much Subaru's perspective shifts just because we change the order of occurrences. Because Subaru, the first thing he saw in the first route in this new world was Emilia. It was like his guiding light, and he himself realizes that he recovers that guiding light at the end of that episode. And this is kind of also an insight into how Subaru would be without that guiding light. But he keeps his morality. He had a chance to get rid of Julius and to gain knowledge, to gain memories to gain the #1 most precious thing to him right now, he could have gained memories, and he has returned by death. And he knows that the current world is kind of quote-unquote doomed. So, in a logical sense, he knows that he can probably let Julius be taken there, and he can read the Book of the Dead, gain more information, and have no negative consequence on the world. The only reason why he doesn't do that quote-unquote logical choice is his own morality. And in that point, inaction would have led to gain. Subaru acted against his own interests. And then we have a part that's really good. We see the Scorpion showing up, which it isn't stated that the Scorpion is Shaula, but the Scorpion is Shaula. I doubt that anyone has a doubt about that. The 3 dots showing up that mimic the on Subaru's forehead, that mimic the 3 dots of Shaula. Shaula is a Scorpion. She has that Scorpion tail. The color schemes are identical. I do think he hasn't accepted return by death here in the tower. Not as much as previously he did by jumping off the cliff to try and save Rep. True, and also that's one of the things that the anime first season doesn't convey as well as the light novel first arcs, is that when Subaru is first using Return by Death, he's always in fear of, imagine if Return by Death has 3 uses, and the next one would be the last. Imagine if there's a certain condition and he hasn't fulfilled. Imagine, for example, if him jumping off the cliff breaks the terms and contracts that he doesn't know, and because of that he loses the power. There is more hesitation as well in the first seasons, and I think here he is hesitant about Return by Death, but I think it's because he sees Return by Death as something of, it is Natsuki Subaru's power that he has, and it's not his own power in a way. And it's, as you said, he hasn't accepted, I think he hasn't interiorized Return by Death as his biggest asset. Return by Death is still Natsuki Subaru's asset. And he doesn't understand, why didn't Natsuki Subaru talk about this power? Why is Natsuki Subaru hiding? He still feels like he's using borrowed strength from Natsuki Subaru and not his own. That's why he's Natsuki Daniel. Oh yeah, but then we have the great scene where now Subaru is given with another chance to deal with another of his companions. And we have the melee sus version, like that. The freaking melee PTSD is so good. Saying like, oh, this is convenient. It is morally correct right now for you to do this. It will be good for you. It will be good for me, the sus melee version. And it would be good for Echidna. It is great for everyone. Just do this. And like, all conditions are there. Everything is lined up perfectly. And even then, Natsuki Subaru is unable to do it. Once again, as I said, this episode really restated Natsuki Subaru as a good guy. And another good guy is Fallon here on Twitch. Hello, hello. What a segue. I do apologize for my regulars. Let me just provide some context. I often stream, and my streams lately have been a little bit all over the place. If I was a REZero content creator in general, this would make a lot of sense. And it would be like, oh, you're making a stream that targets your core audience. I usually don't engage in a lot of REZero discourse online. So this is 100% a self-serving stream. Who knows, maybe I'll recruit some of my core audience into being REZero fans, or the VOD will somehow hand in someone's hands who will be interested in my content. I will then later also talk about how REZero is influencing my writing. right now I started going the walkthrough of the episode, and I feel like I will keep that that line of thought. Also, I haven't watched any REZero, so I won't get any of this. No worries, no worries. Maybe this is your chance. I don't know if you would enjoy it. Like, there are some shows, for example, I love Violet Evergarden, and I think everyone should watch Violet Evergarden. If someone doesn't like REZero, I don't take it personally. I don't think it's the kind of show that is everyone must watch. But I think a lot of people who have watched REZero really like it. That's interesting. I see it as he just doesn't want to die and suffer once again. He hasn't gotten attached to anyone enough to just hurt himself and go back to change things. Maybe Patrash. True. That is also true. And also, he's currently at such a horrible save point that he doesn't have to go out of his way to trigger Return by Death. He never had a moment where it's like, oh, do I trigger it or not? No, he's just doomed. But yes, we see Subaru saying goodbye to Julius, losing Beatrice, losing Anastasia. Ooh, and then we have a sus moment. And yes, Felon, I am indeed talking about what I enjoy. If you build it, they will come. I love that philosophy. Oh, and I like how Melee gets angry and is like, oh, why don't you just die, and then doesn't show up again. It's really like there's a part of your brain that was trying to manipulate you, and by Subaru not falling to the temptation there, he won that challenge. And then we have freaking Satella show up. Like, it's Reed, then Shaula, then Satella. It's like, yeah, let's throw all the final bosses. And I like how she's just in the Aishiteru loop, and Subaru knows, like, because this is not the Subaru that has lived through season 3, and the main topic of season 3 is learning to love yourself. Him hearing these void declarations of love that he feels unworthy of love, and he just has a mechanical voice that can touch his heart, literally saying Aishiteru, Aishiteru. It just pushes him more and more into the edge. And we haven't seen Satella and Echidna, Satella and Emilia in the same room at the same time. And I like how this is framed in a way that Emilia is the one who shatters this moment, where Subaru is drowning in Satella's love. And I think the framing of the scene is intentionally vague, that you cannot understand if Emilia came from outside and attacked Satella, or if Emilia was the vessel of Satella. I have no idea what's going on there. And I think this is intentional to leave us in the doubt. But then we have the 8-minute climax of the episode, and this is where REZero shines the most. It's that it lets moments happen and it takes the time for them to happen well. And this moment right here, I think, is one of the best moments in all of REZero. I'm not sure if this episode is one of the best episodes in all of REZero. Could be. In this season alone, I think one of my favorite episodes was probably the Julius episode. It was before the memory loss, but I really enjoyed the Julius episode where we have him revealing that he's been inspired by Subaru all of this time, looping back, and we have the bro moments of like, we are both weak, we are both useless, we lean on each other, you don't have to stand by our side. Any show of companionship like that makes me really enjoy a show. But yeah, then we have Emilia, and we have Emilia once again coming to Subaru in his most vulnerable time, in his most weak, in his lowest point. And what she does is basically, you don't know who you are, you don't have those memories. Let me tell you, it's simple, and that's what makes it elegant. And we have this really slow moment, this crescendo of Emilia talking about how they met for the first time, about how meaningful he is to him, he was to her. And so far, we've seen everyone treating Subaru as someone special, because they have built that connection with Subaru along the episodes. But this is the first time Subaru has been always asking why. Why am I special? Why do you see value in me? Why? What did Natsuki Subaru do that was that worth it? Why should I want to be Natsuki Subaru? And Emilia is the first one to provide that answer. And it is, why is Emilia the one to provide that answer? Because Emilia is the one in the show that made Natsuki Subaru want to become Natsuki Subaru. I understand why people use the name Nadiel, because it's a lot of Natsuki Subarus going on. And I like how we have the crescendo, and instead of being a one-tone thing, this is something you learn in writing. If Emilia could just win, if it's like, oh, you're a cool guy, you're really, really cool, thumbs up, and Subaru is like, oh yeah, I am indeed cool. But these emotional crescendos work much better with resistance, with tension, and we have Subaru going like, no, you are presenting that person to me, you are presenting Natsuki Subaru to me, I cannot be that person. And we see the core of Subaru at the start, and the core of Subaru's main conflict, which was his own self-hatred. And that's kind of like how REZero started. REZero as a show, as a thematic, as an isekai. It was basically Subaru, in a lot of animes, isekai protagonists, new world, new me. I was someone flawed, I came to a new world, now I'm perfection. That's usually how things go. And that's not what happens to Subaru. He carries all of his emotional baggage, all of his faults go with him to the new world, and he is not overpowered or anything. And along the show, he realizes that the problem is not the world. Like, if my old world changed, if this is a new world, I'm still the same person. And he realizes that he himself has to change. And we even see him value his past life a lot more. We see the wish of, I wish I could go back, I wish I could be more thankful to my family. It is a recurring theme, because more than the world changed, what changed was Natsuki Subaru himself. But now that we had the memory loss in this season, he doesn't understand the journey. Everyone sees the destination, everyone saw the changed Subaru, and now he's at the destination of the changed Subaru, but it's also his starting point. He's starting life in another world from zero. Aha! After already completing a huge personal journey. And now it is when Emilia fights back and shows how deep her appreciation for him is. We see Subaru being like, I'm starting to understand. And instead of Subaru rejecting who he was, we see the internal shift of, I want to fight back, I want to conquer, I want to take back who I was. And that's why the final sentence of the season is, I'm back. It's not that he is returned, he has his memories again. It's not that, oh, he's returned by death. Yeah, he's done that many, many times. His final statement is, I'm back, because first, he's stepped out of it. He has conviction again, and now his objective shifted from running away from the weight of Natsuki Subaru to wanting to understand the journey and become that person again. He went from fleeing. That I'm back hits hard. Yes, it's so good. It's so freaking good, this episode. Man, when watching this episode, I've watched this episode like 3 or 4 times. And one of my biggest passions is writing. I'm writing a book. Hello, I love writing. A fantasy book. And I'm inspired by a lot of different authors, like Brandon Sanderson. REZero wasn't there when I started writing my narrative, but I see a lot of overlaps between how I write and how REZero is written. And because I watched REZero, I think my writing became a lot better. sorry. And that's why I think REZero is really the show for me, even before I watched it. It's like the show was waiting for me. And when I see moments like this, when I see this climax written by Tappei Nagatsuki, and this is usually when you're writing a show, I use language from RTSs. I use a lot of incorrect language when talking about writing because I did a lot of self-education. And if you studied things the correct way and the proper way, you know the terms. If you studied by yourself, you sometimes reach the concepts, but you don't have the terminology. That's how I talk. So when I'm talking about the narrative, I often talk about the macro and the micro. Like in an RTS. And the macro in REZero, I think, is really good. The overarching plots, the mysteries, what happened 400 years ago, what happened 100 years ago. The macro is really good. But then we have these micro moments. And when I say micro moments, like this one, that was superb. There's so many of them scattered throughout REZero. If I open the IMDb and I go check the episode lists, micro and macro are helpful terms in many aspects of complexity management. True. Of course, I think one of the first... Oh, I think the first superb moment for me in REZero was the lap pillow, if I'm honest. I know that from an outside perspective, it can seem like it's fan service or something, but no, I think that the vulnerability shown by Subaru and everything, and I think it was my first peak moment of REZero. Then we have a lot of cool moments along the way, like I like Rem's flashback and everything, but if I'm talking about peak of peak moments, maybe Subaru, the scene where Subaru is facing Ram and Beatrice and jumps off the cliff would also be one of them. Then we have the ending of episode 15 first season, and usually if you say a number of an episode of first season, and people often assume, yeah, it's the episode that ends with Puck and everything freezing, and it's when we have the huge buildup of Betelgeuse. Yes, it's that episode. That episode is a masterpiece. We have Zero Kara. We have the Rem doing the first title drop. And that's another thing. Subaru had to do the title drop now and say that, oh, I'm starting in a new world. And things like that, because it was the name of the episode. Because he didn't have Rem to do the title drop, the Zero Kara. That was a great moment. I really enjoyed when Wilhelm slayed the whale. There's the line when... the timeline when Betelgeuse takes over Subaru's body was superb. And also the end of Betelgeuse was also nice. Then we reached Season 2. And I don't think I'm going to do a play-by-play of Season 2 because Season 2 is my favorite. Season 4 can become my favorite, but Season 2 is still my favorite. Subaru meeting his parents is peak. I think that's I will say that about a lot of episodes. That's one of my favorite. Subaru meeting his parents and confronting his past is one of the biggest highlights. I think that's the moment when ReZero shifted from me, from being a 10 out of 10 into being something more. That is the moment where I decided to devote myself into ReZero. The Witch's Tea Party and Subaru revealing Return by Death to Ekina is superb. The past of Emilia is great. Subaru with parents is the moment I started to enjoy Subaru. Yeah, I know that some people don't enjoy Subaru at the start. I always enjoyed Subaru. I think the moment when I started enjoying Subaru the most, which will be ironic, was when he got angry with Emilia. Because of how the narrative treated it. If Subaru had that moment where he's treated like... People say, I think it's the name of one of the episodes, he has the greed of a pig. A greedy pig. I think if... that was, for me, the biggest crossroads in ReZero history, where it can fall two routes. It could be like, yeah, Subaru suffered. Because he suffered, he deserves everything. Everyone around Subaru is wrong. He has done sacrifices. Therefore, he is worth everything, and the series could have gone that route. There's another route where Subaru has suffered. Subaru has done sacrifices. He's still flawed, and that doesn't mean that the world should bow to him. Just because he has suffered, other people have suffered as well. Other people have their own emotional load. Other people had their own arcs. Just because Subaru had 2 or 3 arcs of self-sacrifice doesn't mean that the whole world should bow to his wins. And that's the route the series took. And because the series took that route and treated Subaru's... Because sometimes in shows we see weak traits being glorified, but it... And when I say weak, I'm not talking about physically weak. When I say weak traits, I meant vile traits. Sometimes we see vile traits and characters being horrible, being glorified and rewarded by the narrative. Because Subaru had flaws and the narrative punished those flaws, that's when I started enjoying Subaru. Not like... I think maybe talking to the parents was when I started seeing like... I like this guy as a bro. Before, I was like, I like this guy as a character that tries his best but is worthless. Worthless is too strong of a word. He's flawed, deeply flawed. But yes, I'm going to through my flashback. We had the past, and in the past, the sequence. If I'm talking about great sequences, the freaking sequence where Geese sees Emilia for the first time and starts crying, and Emilia's like, "Daijoubu, Geese," and Geese is like, "Yes, I'm sorry. I'm not crying because I'm sad. I've just been granted a salvation beyond anything else." And Emilia's like, "Oh, you cry even when you are sad?" And yes, context to people who don't know me, when I'm watching ReZero with friends, I'm like, "This mirrors that scene from episode 2 at minute 17. And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Where this character says this line, that line, and that line. And I go back, and I'm saying the lines at the same time of the characters. I'm really too far deep into the ReZero hole. I don't mind him at the start, but I think he was much of an empty, typical our world teenager and a bit of a punching bag who was just out there experiencing stuff without any context to his life. I can see that. Yeah, and that's... I've seen this written in this way. I like protagonists who protag. Which means that you can have two options. Your protagonists could be a blank slate, or it could be someone, and if you're doing like a blank slate, you want him to be very reactive. Because if the protagonist acts, and you are, as a viewer, are placing yourself in the role of the protagonist, from the moment he acts and takes decisions, your immersion is broken. That's the term, it's very common in power fantasy, and a lot of isekai are power fantasy, not all of them, but a lot of them are. ReZero is not a power fantasy, it is an isekai. And I think a lot of distaste that comes a lot of people when they're talking about, ugh, I hate the isekai genre. I think they hate power fantasy, not isekai themselves, because isekai can be Honsuki no Gekkokujo, A Sentence of a Bookworm. Isekai can be Digimon. Digimon is a great isekai. I think there's such an overwhelming amount of isekai that are power fantasy that people just hate power fantasy and they use the word synonymously with isekai. And if you're doing a power fantasy, you want the reader to be immersed. And if you want the reader to be immersed, you want the character to have the least amount of driving force as possible, and you just want him to react to things happening. Subaru does react a lot to things happening because there's a lot of masterminds. I'll go over, let me write a note so I can loop back to that in a second. For example, in we get revealed that Roswell is plotting a lot of stuff, and Subaru is just reacting because he's part of... He's dancing in the palms of a manipulator. He doesn't have space to act. But even within his reactions, he does present his own unique solutions, and I think he starts building himself more and more, as you said, into being less reactive and less of a punching bag, and being more of the motor of the narrative. And I think one of the main moments, if we're talking about Subaru as a motor, him saving Rem was a shifting moment caused by Subaru. I think then that moment gets cut because Rem, who is Rem? But then I think the second one, and that is one that is very consequential and put on the spotlight, and I think that's very much Subaru's regency over the story, is him saving Garfield. That's another big moment. There's that panel, not panel, the screenshot you can take in episode 16, I believe, of season 2, where Subaru first awakens the unseen hand, Miyazarute, or invisible providence, as Subaru calls it, and punches Garfield in the face. And I think it's one of the moments where you have Subaru being very... a big driving force. And yeah, that's really cool. Wait, Isekai is a cool thing for decades, but eventually it got one formula that did funny fireworks, and now everyone wanted to try out those fireworks formula while considering other possibilities. Yeah, and especially because when I was growing up, growing up, I'm talking about like 10, 11 years old, I grew up playing video games. My mind, like my dream was like, I saw some fantasy stuff, I was already a fantasy nerd, and I was like, man, imagine if I lived in a video game world, that would be so cool, that would be amazing, level up. And then I was like, oh, I wish there were shows that had this premise, and there weren't. And like I was a 10, 11-year-old boy with that wish, there were a lot of 10, 11-year-old boys with that wish, boys and girls as well, of course, with that wish, and there was a huge want and no, like a huge demand and no supply, and suddenly all of those 10, 11 years old, or some who were 14, 15, were old enough to become writers, and they're like, oh, I had this dream as a kid, and let me now offer it to the people. And we had Sword Art Online. When I first saw Sword Art Online, I was like, this is my dream show. And I watched the first 10 episodes and I hated it. Even back then, I hated Sword Art Online. But it was a massive hit, and everyone is like, oh, I had this dream and I'm going to follow this, and there's a need for it, and there's no supply and a lot of demand, and now we are in the infinite supply and no... and a few demands still, but the supply outweighs the demand. That's what happened with the isekai genre. But yes, season 2, we have the Emilia face being reflected. It's so freaking good. The episode 23 and 24 of season 2 have some of the best moments in the series all tied together. We have Ran destroying Roswell's book. We have the fight between Elsa and Garfield. And that starts the moment where Elsa and Meili also have a lot of parallels. Some of them just comportational habits like licking, like doing this. They both do it because Meili learns by observation and wants to copy Elsa. But we also have narrative parallels, like Elsa's ghost haunting Garfield and Meili's ghost haunting Subaru. And then episode 24, Oreo Erabe, choose me Beatriz, freaking peak. And that's another moment where I feel like it shows Subaru being a motor and a driving force of the narrative. I mean, that's the whole season 2. One of the plots is him breaking out of Roswell's narrative, literally, and that requires him to be an agent of the show. Season 3, I really liked season 3. I think it's my least favorite season, but it's like just because 2 and 1 were better, and 4. I wish we saw more of what's that? Sirius. I wish we saw a little bit more of Sirius, but she isn't gone. The only one that's gone is Regulus. And I need to talk about Regulus's downfall as well. I really enjoy Regulus's role in that often we see a villain that is created as the perfect counter to the hero. And that's kind of what Roswell did in season 2. Roswell knew about Subaru's power. Roswell in season 2 is kind of presented as the unsurmountable wall, the perfect foil to Subaru that Subaru needs to overcome. And in season 3, I think season 3 is one of the reasons why season 4 works so well. If we go from season 2 to season 4, we have Subaru reaching his peak in terms of mental, and then we break that down right in the next arc. And I think season 3 was important to keep Subaru at a high, to show us how, like, the maximum power of Natsuki Subaru. A Subaru who has learned not to rely too much in Return by Death, and who has continued a timeline where a lot of things went wrong. He has the Dragon Blood Curse. Crush also has the Dragon Blood Curse. A lot of things went wrong in that timeline, and Subaru didn't reset it out of a whim because he has learned the price to play. He has learned to love himself in the previous season. And I think season 3 is really important as an affirmation of that. It's also when we start seeing Emilia and Subaru's relation being less of a relation of ups and downs, of peaks and valleys, and more of a relation of we just rely on each other. We don't like, I often talk about it. If I'm meeting someone new and we're out for a walk and we've known each other for 1 or 2 times, I feel a need to talk to that person. It's like, oh, I don't want this to be uncomfortable. I don't want awkward silence. Let me do a fact, back and forth. If it's someone I don't know for a long time, silence will make me uncomfortable. If it's someone like Graventost, who I've known for quite a while, or some of my best friends, if we are walking together and we are both in silence, I'm just comfortable. I don't feel like, oh, I need to talk, what is it? No, I'm just with someone who is cool. I think reaching the level of friendship where you can be silent with someone, where you don't have like brainworms or something saying, oh, anxiety, oh, is this person bored? And you're like, nah, we just chill. And I feel like that's kind of the relation that Emilia and Subaru have in season 3. It's like, oh, we don't need to say, I love you, happy. It's like, nah. Like, we are beyond that. We are just happy to have each other. I really like how their season is. And yes, amidst this I'm not talking about substances, I'm talking about narrative elements, needs a climax. And we have the speech. The speech was such a freaking good episode. The Natsuki Subaru speech, I think it was really the cementing climax of that high, and that's what starts the counterattack. And I was talking, I got interrupted about how Roswell is the foil to Subaru. I like how Subaru is constructed as the perfect foil to Regulus. And Regulus is a beast. If you think about it, Regulus has only fallen because he was fighting against Reinhardt, who is #1 in the verse, Subaru, who is he's not #1 in raw strength, but in a lot of things he's an extremely powerful entity in the universe, and Amelia was also there. So Regulus was fighting against powerhouses, and I think the main narrative thing that says that Subaru is constructed as the perfect counter to Regulus's weaknesses are not physical damage. Like Reinhardt couldn't beat Regulus, and Regulus couldn't beat Reinhardt. They would just be like infinitely fighting or something like that. Regulus's flaws are his mind. He's a weak-minded person. He's a spoiled brat. And the main thing that shows that how much of Subaru is a perfect counter to Regulus, I don't know how many people noticed how intentional this was. In a lot of fights, like against Betelgeuse, Subaru had to use Return by Death a few times. In his quote-unquote fight against Roswell, he did have to use Return by Death a few times. Subaru used Return by Death in Arc 3 because of Sirius Romani Conti. Against Regulus, he never used Return by Death. Regulus never beat Subaru. Never. There wasn't a single time where Subaru has fallen to Regulus's attacks. And more important than, oh, power scaling, Regulus is so strong, he can beat all witches and archbishops except Satella. More important than power scaling and numbers and things like that, it is narrative consistency and meaning. And I think the meaning of Subaru never falling to Regulus is very important. We see, and that's what I think that's what Season 3 cements Subaru at his climax, fighting against one of the strongest opponents that exists in the entire show, and beating him not because of strengths he doesn't have, like physical strength or anything. He beats him with the strengths he has, which is friendship, like in the form of Reinhardt, which is his wit, his cunning, even his knowledge of the stars comes into play here. Regulus Corneus was wrecked. True. And that's why I say I'm glad that only Regulus Corneus was wrecked. Because this season had a lot of fighting, and it kinda... because there was so much fighting, there was not a lot of time to place into every conflict. I'm glad we will have more Capella. I felt like, okay, Capella is cool, we need more time with this character for her to develop. Sirius is captured, but not dead. The only character that is gone is Regulus, and I think Regulus fulfilled his role. And then, and then of course the season ends with a brilliant setup for this season of we have Liliana singing, everyone is happy, hey, 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 woohoo, we won the battle. And then it's just super. When I'm talking about REZero, I don't need to open the episodes. I can see them unfolding in the walls. I look at a wall and I see a REZero episode. I can hear the soundtrack and again, am I crazy? Am I insane? Maybe. Maybe I should become a REZero only channel. If you are a random who found out this channel. Oh, and speaking of people, these are not randoms, we just have a raid. Let me just wait a little bit because sometimes raids get delayed. Let's go, Atari! How are things over in Atlantis? I'm being giga nerd right now. Hello, Atari, welcome in, welcome in. welcoming Atari and anyone who follows him. I am TheNando. I do apologize for that slip of the tongue. I am TheNando. I am a VTuber who does a lot of strategy content. Usually I have a really organized channel. Things are structured. I'm very professional, very neat, very tidy, very cool. But lately, REZero has taken over my life, and today's stream is basically middle-aged man talks about his obsession. If you're a fan of middle-aged man talks about his obsession type of content, then this is the stream for you. If you aren't, subscribe and there will be other streams for you. But Atari, thank you so much for the raid. I hope you had a wonderful time over in your stream. And I've been talking about REZero and also a lot about writing. I can go into a writing tangent soon as well. Not too great. I wanted to play The Legend of Spyro and the disc didn't work. No! That's the one thing. I love physical media. I love... like, it's way better having physical media than having a Steam copy of a game. But there's also downsides to physical media. And, well, like, one of my favorite games on the PS3 is Folklore. I have a copy of that game. It was my first ever PS3 game and it still works. But when I think about some games that I have that have just deteriorated, especially games from my childhood, when I wasn't that careful, I'm like, yeah, physical media is great, but the erosion and scratches and everything are a hassle. But I still hope you enjoyed it. I was just saying, I appreciate the raid. I know that often when we streamers are raiding, it means one thing. It means the times are ending. No, it means that we are tired. It means that we need a snack. It means that we need hydration. So if you're here, if you're either Atari or anyone from Atari streams, and you're like, I'm too tired to handle the energy of this little guy on a train, then do feel free to leave and take a rest. If you want to share a ride with us, then stay aboard the Nano train, where I will keep going crazy over REZero. And yes, I was just talking about the end of Season 3, when, spoiler alert, Julius loses his memories, and Subaru is realizing what happened. The way it is framed is so funny. And yeah, talking a little bit about writing itself, one of the things that got me off-put out of REZero at first was the visuals, not because they were ugly, on the contrary, because they lacked grit. They were too colorful and beautiful. And I've just said that my perfect type of stories is when there's a tone of overcoming. And because REZero's narrative can be so heavy, there's so many plot points that are extremely heavy in terms of emotion. I think the colorfulness of it all helps us not sink into despair. I think the visuals in REZero, not being dark and greedy, make the show 20 times better than if they were. I feel like if the visuals are dark and greedy, the show having the plot that it has would be an edge fest. Okay, sorry. I turned the stream into a PS2 disc testing session and went through all the games I never tried out, so it ended up being fun. Oh, nice. Yeah, we Portuguese. I'm Portuguese. Atari is not Portuguese. He's Atlantean, but with relations to us Portuguese. We are matched to descanso. And now I have to go get dinner, but I'll leave your stream on for the engagement! Yes! Engagement! Yummy, yummy. It is what feeds us VTubers. Bon appetit! Au revoir! And Amaru making Mario dance on my head. Hello, Amaru! You've missed me being insane for 1 hour and 11 minutes already. Merci. Ah, tu parles français, Atari? Ouh là là, je parle un petit peu de français. Amaru, tu parles français? Amaru est dans le Twitch chat. Oui, oui, un petit peu, oui. Ah, c'est merveilleuse. Hi. I didn't know you did the Mario thing. Yes, you sent me the GIF. Of course I did the Mario thing. You sent me the Mario gift, so I put it on my head. That's the influence you all have on me. I surround myself with the worst people. Nah, just joking, just joking. I do not speak baguette. Oh, tu ne parles français. Je suis désolé, mes amis. Oh. Pero, por supuesto que consigues hablar un poquito de español. Yo no sé por qué de repente me ha cambiado mi manera de hablar. Pero tengo que... Es una pequeña pausa para me grabar un poco de mis capacidades. En breve retornaremos a REZero. No se preocupen. I can also speak Japanese and Portuguese. Por supuesto. Sí, por supuesto. Oh, a thing that I forgot to mention, still in the ending of episode 11, the fact that episode 11, during the important conversation, had the piano version of the first ending playing, followed by Rie Takahashi singing the second ending, and then the REZero YouTube channel also posted Rie Takahashi singing that song with scenes from the episode showing up from that conversation. Chef's kiss. Beautiful. The two endings playing. Vou agora mesmo, tchau, tchau, Atari, tchau, tchau. Desculpa. It's good. I like when people want to leave and they can't, because it means that I'm being a charming talker. That's my goal as a streamer. If people can't leave, that's how you grow your channel. But yes. Oh, and a thing I've been talking about the upside of this episode, of this season. I need to talk about the biggest downside of REZero Karahachi Meru Isekai Sekatsu Season 4 Episode 11, entitled REZero Karahachi Meru Isekai Sekatsu, is that we now have a break, and I was like, okay, this episode will maybe provide some answers, and I will be satisfied. I would be like, Kokoro is relieved, I have answers. The arc isn't over, but now my heart is relieved. We had a great emotional moment, but we had no answers. No answers at all. I think the main reason why I'm so happy right now is that I'm postponing the feeling of emotional dread that will invade my soul and take a hold of my heart and squeeze it when I accept the fact that I have no episode next week. And in the past 3 or 4 weeks, I feel like they have been the best writing weeks of my life in my own personal writing. I feel like my word choice has been through the roof. My decision makings are amazing. I don't think I'm as good as Tappei Nagatsuki yet. I want to emphasis on the yet. Maybe I'll never be, but who knows? I'm fighting to reach there. And I mean, if you read REZero Volume 1, it is good, but it isn't as good as these episodes. Nothing makes you a better writer than writing. And publishing as well, having your works released, increases your skills even more than just writing for yourself. Is it all because of REZero? Is it like the REZero buff? That's my next transition. I think it helped big time, if I'm honest. This week, I was counting down the days for today's episode. I was looking forward to it, and like yesterday I was writing and I'm like, ooh, I need to write a lot because tomorrow I want to have free time to just enjoy REZero, and I watched the REZero episode twice, and then I was like, oh, I'm so inspired to writing. I sit down, today I was a bit tired, I wanted to write like 400 words. I wrote 1,500 words. They're peak prime Nando writing. And after them, I'm like, thank you, REZero. And I jump back into the episode. I feel like REZero, like a lot of shows that are sad, also have very passionate characters. A good example would be Oshinoko, for example. It is a show that is tragic, but every character there is extremely driven and extremely passionate. And I think if there's one point that you can say about Subaru, is that despite his failings and his shortcomings, he's extremely passionate. And when I see someone being passionate, be it in fiction or in reality, it makes me passionate as well. When I say fiction, I know that Natsuki Subaru isn't real. Shocking. But I'm watching that scene, and in my mind, I'm like, Tape Nagatsuki wrote this. Someone like me, I don't believe in superior people. I think that's not a good thing to believe in. When I look at Tape Nagatsuki, I don't think he's superior to me. I don't think he's inferior to me. I think he's a guy. I'm a guy. That's it. And when I see that a guy like me, Mr. wrote a work like this, it fills me with inspiration and determination, and it makes me... I want to make other people feel the excitement that I feel when I watch ReZero. And one thing that has been invading my heart lately, my determination, is that I'm loving the fact that Natsuki Subaru's story is being told, and it's being told through Tape Nagatsuki. And I'm feeling a sense of duty towards the characters of my book, who I know they aren't real, don't worry. I say I'm crazy, I'm not that crazy. I feel a sense of duty of showing what those characters are doing to the world. I feel a sense of, I created this character, he's struggling, he's doing his best. I want to show his tale to people. I'm not the kind of writer, some writers write and they have a really tough time at showing it to others. They have a hurdle of, I wrote it for myself, I don't want it to be published. I'm the opposite. I want my books to be read by everyone. If you're watching this stream, my book will probably be released later this year in Portuguese. Eventually, I want to translate it into Spanish, into English, into Japanese, and then into more languages. And everyone should buy my book and then read it, and then you enjoy it so much that you also buy it for your friend, then you buy it for your mother, then you buy it for your daughter, and then you run to become prime minister of your country, then you make it so that it is mandatory in every school to study the writing of Nando. I would be happy if you do that for me. Amaru will buy Let's Go in every language. First one would be Portuguese, because I am Portuguese. That's where my weird accent comes from. Yeah, all of this to say that ReZero does inspire me as an author. Tape Nagatsuki and Brandon Sanderson are by far the two main sources of inspiration I have. And it's funny because my book was written with explicit Brandon Sanderson inspiration. I would say openly. If you read Wheel of Time, it is funny because my book has overlapping themes with Wheel of Time, but I read it way later and it wasn't a direct inspiration. There are some things that I think people will accuse me of, oh, this guy copied Wheel of Time, and I'm like, I didn't even know this story existed. It has elements in common, but I swear I was creative. I didn't copy Wheel of Time. That happened to me. And ReZero, it didn't impact my original version, but because the two shows have such overlapping emotional tones, I feel like now in my revision, I'm doing the same but better. I think ReZero didn't change my writing, it just upgraded it. I will buy 3 of each copy, 1 to read, 1 to store, 1 to show off to others. Nice! That's a Honsuki no Gekkokujo reference. I got that. I for a split second, I was thinking, where is that from? And thank you, Amaru, as well, for buying. So I already have 4 copies sold here in chat. 4 copies sold. Anyone wants to buy another one? Anyone wants to buy another one? I will sign them for you. I'm selling a book. I feel like I'm one of those scammers, like selling a book that doesn't even exist yet. I will not take payments until the book is released, not worry. But yeah, season 4 of ReZero was a banger. I also want to talk about the thumbnail character I have here today, which was Shaula. I really liked Shaola. And I really like her presence because she's Subaru's unconditional ally. Like she's Subaru slash Flugel. She's extremely strong. She's an extremely positive person. She has in the first way she was a small hurdle of stopping them from getting into the tower. But the thing is, she's all of that and funny, and while presenting an extremely eerie aura. I feel like no character can lower their guards around Shaola. And even like we had Meilee's corpse disappearing last episode, and very likely it was Shaola from her behavior and everything. I really like how Shaola works as a character that is nothing but positive, but at the same time feels like such a looming threat. It's like, I would describe Shaola as you are sitting down in the bus next to a kind person, and that person is holding a nuclear bomb. That's how I would describe Shaola. And it's like, yes, this person is kind, but they're holding a nuclear bomb and their hands are soapy. We of course had more in this season. We had more seeds of doubt planned into our minds because everything in that tower seems planned for Subaru specifically. Enigmas that only people from Japan would be able to solve, or from our world. And that brings me to one of the topics that I said I would talk about later. I said that Subaru was playing in the hands of masterminds, of people who are planning things. In the anime, we have that notion, but I think the light novel gives that idea even more firmly from the start. ReZero feels like a narrative about someone planned the world, someone planned all of the events, and we are seeing them play out. But I would say that that's layer 1. I think the events that we are watching play out, at first I thought that two people planned those events like a conflict. I don't know who the big characters would be. Imagine if it's like Echidna on one side and Flugel in the other. They both planned seeds, they both had plans, they both had like gospels and things to influence, they had plans and consequence. My first idea was that we have two big forces that we do not understand that have set up the stage and now we are watching it unfold. My honest opinion is that I think there is a chaos element in the mix. And I would say, I could be completely wrong, this is 100% theory crafting. I would say there are 3 forces at play, and one of them is the element of chaos. When I say element of chaos, I mean that there's someone who is like an agent planning the things and who sue chaos. I would say, imagine this is a war. This is how I would read it. Maybe the characters are wrong. This is a war between Echidna and Pandora, for example. They both have their plans. And then Flugel was a freaking troll and messed things up. And because of that, it started a chain reaction that makes it so that their plans aren't unfolding as they should. And it's ruining the plans for both sides. And I think Subaru, of course, is at the core of those 3 plans. I bet it's Puck. Puck, because, for example, I would say Echidna is a mastermind because you have Puck tied to Amelia, and Puck was created by Echidna. We have Beatrice tied to Subaru. Beatrice was created by Echidna. We have the elements of Season 2 unfolding, which is all plans of Roswald, who is the disciple of Echidna. We have now Anastasia, who is called Echidna. Even in Season 1 of ReZero, in the anime, it doesn't talk about Echidna. In the light novel, it talks about Echidna. And we have Pandora, who hasn't done a lot out in the open, but feels like a shadow figure. And why do I say 3? there is a moment in the light novel, first season, so these spoilers for things ahead, when Al, who is also from Japan, first meets Rem. He is shocked at meeting Rem and very confused. And his reaction, I need to reread it, it was a long time ago. His reaction towards Rem is like, why are you alive? Aren't you supposed to be your sister? What are you doing here? And it creates an idea of there was a plan and things are off rail. And another element that I think it's off rail, there's a character that some people talk about, which is Otto, the merchant. I think Otto is planted there by the faction that is an agent of chaos. I think, for example, the Witch Gospel foresaw a lot of things that Subaru is doing. I think it's like Echidna foreseeing the movements of her enemy, of Pandora, for example. And there's the third element, for example, planted Otto there, and there's no countermeasures because no one was expecting the third party. That's my this is 100% my mind that dwelled too much time in ReZero thinking on how things are going. Oh, sorry. Another thing that Shala does great is that when there's a lot of tension, sometimes it's necessary to cut it. There are moments where you want tension to just build up, build up, build up. And for example, if you had a gag, a joke in the middle of that tension, for example, we had the Emilia and Subaru scene at the end of this episode. Imagine if Emilia cracks a joke like, hee hee ha ha, and then we see Subaru turning chibi form saying, no, I don't think so. Like, it would ruin the moment. There are moments where you just want tension. But if you have a tense arc and every single moment is tension, it would be too much. And for example, in season 4, episode 3, we had that horrible scene where Subaru, Ram, Anastasia, and Patrash all turn on each other with the influence of the witch miasma. And that is the opposite. That was like, okay, we need not a lot of like, we need to dial up the tension. That was the opposite kind of thing. It was, we need a super tense scene for now to make things, to cause an eerie in the reader. I feel like Shala has an important role in cutting the tension in this arc. I think Shala is also like comedic relief in a good way. In a good way because it doesn't break her character to be comedic relief, because she's not a hugely established character. For example, in season 1, Ram and Ram did a lot of comedic relief moments. If now we gave the role of comedic relief back to Ram, I think it would be horrible. And I think Anastasia wouldn't work, I think Emilia wouldn't work, Subaru wouldn't work. Otto is one of the characters that could always work as comedic relief, even after his character progression, but he isn't there. None of the characters in our main cast work as a cutting tension character. And I think Shala, the way that she acts and everything, I think it was a really good masterpiece. When I'm reading or writing something from an author that I respect and appreciate, I love to do this. I love to deconstruct things and see how they work in like, why did they do this? For example, Ram is asleep, and that's super important because first it gives an overarching objective to Subaru. Even if things are going well in season 3, they are going well, but it's not perfection, because there's still that. It gives an overarching character arc for Subaru saving Ram, and also because Ram is a pillar of support for Subaru. And as I said, season 2 was Subaru rebuilding himself, and I think if Subaru had Ram to cling on during season 2, he couldn't have been shattered that far to then rebuild himself better. I think Ram would lead to Subaru's stagnation at that moment, because Ram is someone who already sees the best of Subaru, but Subaru is not at his best yet, so she needed to be taken out of the picture. Maybe, I'm saying all of this, maybe Tappei Nagatsuki didn't think about this at all in this way. one moment that I have to say was genius was having Subaru call Emilia-tan Emilia-chan. The freaking Emilia-chan was a stroke of genius. That moment, and you have in the anime, the zoom in, you see through the eyes, you see Emilia's heart shattering there at being treated by a different nickname. It was such a good moment. Oh, Beako! Oh, I forgot about Beako. Beako is also a character that can do comedic relief. Exactly. Orinkashira. You are correct, Predentost. Of the party, Meili also didn't work. Beako works as comedic relief. But the fact that she has Shala there as well. Even Meili works as comedic relief because she's paired with Shala. If Shala wasn't there, Meili would... Even Emilia sometimes has comedic relief moments. I'm remembering the moment where she sees Subaru covered by Shala and... Is it Beatrice? I don't remember the exact scene. But she just goes next to Subaru and kicks him. Like, I'm really angry right now. That was a tiny comedic moment that worked as well. Like, even if your characters aren't comedy prone, you can make comedy moments that that work like that with the correct setup. But I think Shala was good, a good addition. But yeah, the stair scenes and everything. Okay, I need to talk about the stair scenes. I need to talk about Natsuki Daniel, because there's this word that is used by everyone online and that I despise, which is LARPing. Like, LARPing is the new cringe. When cringe first showed up, it was a word that had a specific meaning, and then it became so overused, and I hate the term cringe. I tried to avoid using cringe. So the word cringe became like lost all meaning. It was just a word used negatively for negative stuff, and that's final. And I think now it's LARPing. Back in my day, LARPing, live action role playing, was just dressing up in the armor. LARP is screenshot. No. LARP, you probably aren't around those circles of the internet, Predentost. For example, you say that Beatrice is best girl of REZero. I would say, oh, you're not a REZero fan, you're just LARPing. And it means that you're just role-playing as a fan, you're not a true fan. And the word LARPing has lost all meaning, and it's just used as an insult and a way of kind of like elitism. Everyone calls everyone LARPing nowadays. If you have an opinion that diverges from mine, you're LARPing. That's basically how it is used. I don't like circles, I'm a hexagon guy. Hexagons are the best hexagons. But, yeah, LARPing... Yeah, it's just used as an insult. It's basically calling people a fake fan, but it's used way too much. Okay, why am I bringing the term LARP? Because we had the Natsuki Daniel stairs moment with the funk, and I really find the meme extremely funny. I like the happy birthday, Daniel. That's the kind of... If you're a friend of me IRL, your Instagram account has been flooded with Natsuki Daniel memes in the past 1 month. I do apologize. I find it funny. But Natsuki Daniel made it so that a lot of people... I've talked about the catharsis of the if routes, and a lot of people thought that Subaru would go crazy in the stairs, and it's like they thought the stair scenes was going to be the climax of the arc and the birth of Darth Subaru, and the climax of the arc is the exact opposite. The existence of Darth Subaru is only there to show that Subaru isn't that character. The whole stair scenes exists to show us this is not Subaru. That's the whole reason, and he is being fed by the witch miasma. That's also why he's more crazy. That whole scene exists to show us that that isn't Subaru. But a lot of people just saw reels of that meme and thought, okay, this is the moment where Subaru goes crazy. Like, I'm a power scaler, I'm someone who talks about Saitama and everything 24/7, and now Subaru is going to become the strongest character in anime, and that's not what the spirit of ReZero. And a lot of people were using the term, oh, if you like the Natsuki Daniel meme, you are just LARPing. Now we got rid of the LARPing guys and everything. I don't like the take on ReZero of like, oh, this is Subaru being I don't like that take of, oh, this will be Subaru becoming Giga Chud super evil. But I also don't like the weaponization of, oh, if you like the Natsuki Daniel meme, it means that you are LARP and you do not enjoy ReZero the proper way. I feel like everyone in that is, I mean, that's internet. Everyone falls to the extreme. It's like you're either you're either LARPing or something, and I'm like, just, I love ReZero for what it is, and I think funny meme is funny meme. That's it. I don't complicate. For me, that's about that. That's literally it. ReZero is ReZero and it's superb. And the stairs, like, a lot of people were disappointed by the stair scenes because the memes created such a high expectations. And you shouldn't use memes to create expectations. And that's why then LARP becomes weaponized, because people are like, ah, you're just LARPing, you follow ReZero through the memes, and I kind of get the point. I still don't like the word LARP, but I get the point, yes. Memes are memes. But yes, I haven't talked enough. Memes set excellent. Yes, Amaru, it's crazy. The internet has, I mean, internet is always crazy, but about this season of ReZero in particular, the internet has gone real crazy. A lot of people thought that the stair scenes, I will send you the meme of the stairs on Discord right now. This is not that important of a scene, but because this GIF was everywhere. Teta Subaru Aura. Okay, that works. Like, a lot of people saw this GIF out of context and thought, oh, this character is turning super evil. This is the turning point of the story. Finally, we have the evil character. And literally what happens is the character does this, goes up the stairs, sees something scary, and he's like, ah, scary, ah, and goes back at being who they are. What the hell am I looking at? Yeah, imagine thinking that, basing your entire experience of the show around that meme. That's the stairs meme. Welcome. Welcome, Amaru, to the world of Natsuki Daniel climbing stairs. Patrash being best girl is amazing. Like, he looks like he's hungry and running up the stairs. He's like, there's tasty Bolivian dinner upstairs. Let's go. Bolivian soup. Like Patrash being best girl despite being completely true. Just a fun thing that doesn't matter much for the plot. Has Amaru ever seen ReZero? No. Amaru is just a good friend of mine. She's supporting me. She's like, you know when you see for example an uncle talking about something and you understand nothing and you're like, yes, uncle, fax machines are really cool. Amaru is like that. She's like, oh, yes, Nano, this is very interesting. Now go back to bed and rest for a little bit. Have you taken your meds? Yes, are you okay, Mr. Nando? You have a tough day ahead. Remember to go to the gym again. True. But yes, okay. Next point, you did bring the chopsticks guy. Reed was a really cool introduction. He's one of those characters where it's like, is he a good or a virtuous guy? No, I don't think so. I don't think his attitudes are good or virtuous. But I don't think like a character to work has to be good or virtuous. And I think he really works as a character, especially has an unsurmountable obstacle. And his introduction, the one thing that ReZero does super well along all the seasons, some people find it off-putting, I really enjoy it, is Emilia has the Sugok, Kore wa Sugok Tanashi Sugok, and Beatrice always ends her sentences with Kashira. Like, I think if you count the amount she says Kashira in the first season, Kashira, it's roughly 300 times Kashira. You also have a lot of names like Subaru calling Emilia Tanori MT, Ram calls Subaru Balls, Barusu, Rem uses the Subaru-kun. So you have a lot of these either specific ways of talking, specific ways. I think the Shala has the su, the us, ends a lot with the su sound. And we have Raid Astrea with a Ome. It's so his introduction, I think he's the voice actor that also does Sakama Gintoki from Gintama. His introduction at the end of an episode, like it's one of those comedic moments, like where he goes, Jari, Sako, nah. It starts, Iona, Heroyona, Jari, Dura, Zako. That moment, Iona, Heroyona, Jari, Dura, Zako. It's so good. And he's a kind of character that you watch 1 minute of him and you know what's up with the character. And that's important in side characters. If you're okay, writer's advice here, a lot of people think, oh, my main character, since he's the main character and he's going to spend a lot of time with us, we need to make his personality extremely clear. And in side characters, that's not that relevant. It's the exact opposite. If you have a main character that's going to show up a lot of times in the plot, you will have time to develop it. You can be subtle. Because if you're just subtle once, it won't click, but you can be subtle in a lot of ways. And if you are screaming with the personality traits of your main character, if you're like, this guy's so cool, the next scene, I'm so cool. Yes, I'm cool. You're like, I get it, the guy's cool. I'm going to stick 200 episodes with this character saying that's cool. I can't be bothered with that. But if you're subtle, it works, and you can introduce slight changes. It's easier to not get your readers burnt out. In side characters, you can't make them all shine a lot, because if everyone shines, no one shines. But if you want to really, bam, hit readers in the face with a strong character, when I say strong character, it could be like someone who is extremely charismatic, someone who is extremely strong, someone who is extremely horrible as a person. For example, Made in Abyss does that really well, where we have a lot of horrible persons that aren't that... Okay, I will not talk about Made in Abyss because they are horrible because of our standards in context of the universe. They do absolutely atrocious stuff, but they don't see themselves, or they are aware of themselves. But like, morality in Made in Abyss is not a simple topic. But they do introduce side characters with a punch to your face. Avatar: The Last Airbender does that sometimes as well, and that's why sometimes you see a lot of side characters that are extremely memorable. And people are like, oh, if this was the main character, the show would be way better. No, it wouldn't, because if that type of character was the main character, it would ruin. It would be... You would get tired of the character. Like someone like Better Call Saul having a spin-off, it works because Saul has room to do a lot of complexity and everything. A lot of people like Gus from Breaking Bad, but the truth is, we kind of see all of the dimensions of Gus in Breaking Bad already. I feel like if we had a spin-off show with Better Call Gus, you would be burned out of the character. Maybe I could be wrong. I have been proven wrong. I've seen writers do things when I'm like, oh, they killed this character, this is a horrible decision for the narrative, and then they advance the story, and I'm like, okay, color me wrong, you were correct, Mr. Writer. I do enjoy what we did in that character. But Nando, side characters are to be put to the side, while main characters have to be the main type of emotion, so very straightforward. Yeah, I think that's a common trap for new writers. Like, the side characters are the ones who need to have a really strong personality. Like, in main character, you need to think about the different traits, even before they are skills or faults. You need to think of different traits, you need to think of how they interact, you need to think about how did these traits came to be, what was the cause of an effect, how do these traits interact with each other. Like someone who is slothful but arrogant, for example. Okay, arrogance and sloth, how will these two traits intermingle with each other? Or it could be something very positive, like this person is very charitable, but what would be a negative trait? I'm thinking about REZero terms. Charitable but very prideful. Someone who helps a lot of people but not with a good heart, for example. That would be an interesting complex character. And then you need to think about the morality. If you're doing a side character, you can literally go rage. I like the word rage. Let's create an entire character based around rage. And I think Raid Astrea is basically, let us create a powerful asshole. I'm dying here. Let us create a powerful asshole who is not villainous. Being an asshole is not the same as being villainous. He is regarded as one of the heroes. I have no doubt that he will be heroic, but an hero can be an ass. And I think he conveys that in 1 minute of showing, you know, I'm in the presence of a powerful ass. That sounds so wrong. But yeah, no need for nuance, no need for details. This is who he is. Maybe that's the thing also, characters aren't static, maybe he will grow to be nuanced. For his introduction, that was perfect. He fulfilled his role this season spectacularly and was one of the positive notes of the season. Is there any is there anything I can talk about more? There's always more things to talk about REZero. I'm just thinking if I have any pressing term. I've dived a little bit about theory crafting. I think REZero is great for theory crafting. Talked about the emotional side, extremely dense. The episodes are beautiful. Sometimes I find myself going back to moments in season 1, season 2. Oh, I can expand on one idea. When I was talking about how Tapei Nagatsuki's writing influences my writing, and I see that moment with Emilia and Subaru at the end of this episode, and I'm like, I am witnessing peak. The truth is, that peak was not one person alone. Tapei Nagatsuki is the creator, he's the writer, he's the most important person in this entire endeavor. But we also have along the way Shinichiro Otsuka, who was the first illustrator, and he's the main illustrator for the light novels, and that ended up being the basis for the character designs for the anime. We have Tapei Nagatsuki's team editing. We are watching a version inspired by the light novel. What Tapei Nagatsuki first wrote was the web novel. There was a team effort elevating the quality and making it more curated, and my voice is dying. Help me. My voice. Streamer is dead. I am truly going crazy. But yes, we had a team, and we have a team of people just to reach the level of light novel. Oh good, water, that's a good idea, Credentost. You are wise. I am... It was a good idea to trust you with the position of my loyal advisor. Okay, I'm back. Hydrated. Okay, just to reach the level of light novel, I've recovered my train of thought. It was a lot of people, and also I said that the web novel started with Tapei Nagatsuki. He also didn't start alone. He's like Subaru. He has the strength of friends. I think I read, I know that Tapei Nagatsuki was a butcher, and I think he plotted out ReZero with a friend at a restaurant. He was having back and forth. So even that first version was not an individual effort. The web novel, then more people for the light novel. Now we reach the anime, and we have that scene that has two amazing musics, the ending of season 1. The first ending played only on piano, and the second ending being sung by Rie Takahashi. And if you have music, we have the music team, the producers, maybe someone writing the lyrics. We have the anime, we have the animation, we have the designs, we have the the voice actors. I've talked about them, I will talk again. Rie Takahashi does a heck of a role as Emilia, but Yusuke Kobayashi, or Kobayashi Yusuke, I always mess up when it's Japanese names, does a gargantuan role as Natsuki Subaru. So, I look at episode 11 of season 4 of ReZero, I'm witnessing peak, and I know that little old me, little young me, I'm not that old, cannot do that, but neither could Tapei Nagatsuki by himself, and neither could Tapei Nagatsuki do that in volume 1. And that for me is really inspiration. I feel like we've watched the climax of a journey of a man, Tapei Nagatsuki, not Natsuki Subaru. The journey of a man. I really like to think about when I'm consuming art, be it painting, be it music, be it everything. I like to think about the people behind. I know that some people hate to do that. If they think that Lord of the Rings was written by Tolkien, it breaks their immersion. For me, it's the opposite. I really like to think of the people behind the show, the people doing it, because I also want to become a writer myself. And yeah, witnessing the peak of all that buildup, of the efforts of people who have combined their skills, years of training, efforts to craft such a cool episode. And all of it started with Tapei Nagatsuki lifting the first stone. In a way, like, Rie Takahashi wouldn't voice Emilia if Tapei Nagatsuki didn't start it. Those musics wouldn't be created. Mythonroid wouldn't create some of the endings and everything if Tapei Nagatsuki didn't start the work. Like, for me, this is really cool. For me, this is extremely cool. It's one of the coolest things about art, is how it snowballs and how art forms inspire one another. How we have music because of an anime, we have an anime because of writing, we have like illustrations. I really like that, and that's one of the reasons why I also want to be an author myself, because I know that I'm just a guy in his rooms writing because he loves the craft itself, and my main focus in writing is enjoying the journey, like Subaru is also on his journey. And who knows, maybe one day I'll reach that point. And one final topic. I have one final topic to end the stream. I'm talking about my personal journey. I have a PhD in mechanical engineering. I'm not just saying that flex. There's a point. There's a point I want to make. And it is a point related to ReZero. I have a PhD in mechanical engineering. And that was... a lot of years of my life went into that. And if I wanted a quote-unquote easier life, I would work as a mechanical engineer right now. Writing books and trying to live as an author isn't as easy as earning a living as a mechanical engineer with a PhD. Shocking, right? Arts are difficult? PhD in mechanical engineering, yes. And a lot of times when you are living your life or something and you want to change, there's the feeling that sometimes it's too late. You could be... the other day I overheard this conversation. I was passing by a school while walking, and there was a 8th grade kids, how old is that? Like 12, 13 years old, and one of them was saying to the other something like, oh, you need to do that because now your future is set in stone, because they were talking like for example, I need to waste this math exam because I'm going to be a doctor, and if I fail, my life is ruined. And we are talking about 12, 13-year-old kids. They're like, my life is already decided. That was kind of like their mindset. And then you have REZero, whose constant message is, you can REZero. Your starting point is whenever you choose. And I feel like starting isn't easy, but I feel like that's what I'm doing with my writing. I've chosen to start life in the same world from zero as a writer, and that was not easy. But I think that REZero has a lot of superb messages along its narrative. I think one of the reasons why the show vibes with me so hard is that a lot of the messages from it, a lot of the morals contained in the story are morals and messages that I agree with, that I see myself in. Like, I don't have Returned by Death, or maybe I'm saying that just so I don't have a Satella's crushing me. But it's not about Returned by Death. It's about people doing stuff. It's about choosing your starting point. It's about making decisions. It's about overcoming hardship. It's about finding yourself. That's also one of the topics. It's about loving yourself. It's about respecting yourself. There's a lot of topics in REZero that the more I watch the show time and time again, please save me, I need to watch other shows. There's so many cool anime. Why am I only watching REZero on repeat? This is a cry for help. Okay, back to the script. I really like REZero. I think that's, after 2 hours of talking, I think that's the conclusion. And one thing that I like about REZero is that I have told you the reasons why I like REZero, and I know a lot of people who are very passionate about REZero, and if you ask them the reason why, some would agree with everything I said, some would completely disagree with some parts, and some would love REZero as much as I do for completely different reason. Like, I go theorizing, some people hate theorizing and they still love REZero. I personally, for example, I don't like shows that have time travel, and I don't like shows that have revival of characters. Those are 2 tropes that I really dislike. If a show has time traveling, usually I like it less. REZero has time traveling, but just freaking good. And if someone tells me that, oh, I love time traveling and it's the main reason why I like REZero is because of how it exploits time travel and everything, oh, all power to you, completely fair. And that's the mark of a good show as well. I often say, that's my opinion as a writer, that 33% of what I write is my intention, 33% is what is there. It's like the objective truth. And when you are reading, like when I'm writing, I'm not watching that objective truth. And when you're reading, you're also not watching that. Another 33% is the eyes of the viewer. And today I was just talking about how REZero is through my eyes, and through different people's eyes it's different. You see that when you're discussing favorite characters, when you're discussing favorite arcs. Different people have different characters, and I think, as I said before, good shows don't try to please everyone. Good shows don't try to do everything right. And the fact that REZero pleases different viewers in different ways is one of the biggest testaments to its quality. REZero is a good one to watch on repeat, quite a lot of experience through. Exactly. You have Returned by Death. It's never too late to start, and most finds that starting is the toughest part of the progress. It is of the process. It's usually like it is a fun thing. I've talked about motivation quite a bit with different people online, offline. It's not like I'm not a motivational speaker on my channel. And one of the weirdest paradoxes of motivation is that when you need the most motivation is when you are starting, but you get motivation. Your main source of motivation usually comes from doing and things that result from doing, which means that when you need the most motivation is when you have the least amount of sources to get them. After you started, you often get a lot of natural sources of motivation. If you haven't started yet from zero and you don't have like a rainbow and pigeons flying, and by the way, sus pigeons in REZero Season 4 also need to think about that for the future, but I don't want to get into that now. But yeah, pigeons are sus in REZero. Starting is the hardest part, and it is a part where you have least things going for you, which makes it's like a cyclical. You have nothing going for you, so it's harder. And because it's harder, you feel more that you have nothing going for you, and it's cyclical. So you need RAM to tell you, yeah, Zero cara, and then the music and everything. For me, REZero is the quest of Puck becoming the greatest wingman in fantastical history. That is a great final note to end the stream on. Let me search for people to raid. This was fun. This was weird. This is not my usual content. I do apologize to my regulars. Hontoni sumimasen. This was also not a planned stream. I hope if you're watching the VOD and you made it this far, thank you. If you made it this far, sell out. If you made it this far and haven't subscribed yet, do it. Also happy that I didn't get spoiled. And if you're watching the VOD, don't write spoilers past Season 4, Episode 11. I wrote the warning on top just to be sure. That's the good thing about being a small channel. It's not only downsides. Okay, I see cool people, but they are way too big on YouTube, the cool people I see. If I had someone raiding into me and I had 200 viewers, I mean, I did have a raid, so thank you very much for the raid. Ooh. On Twitch? Ooh. I have two options. One is bigger, one is smaller. I will send you to the slightly bigger because I raided the smaller one the other day. That's the literal only reason. I will raid Tipanya. Tipanya? I've realized the other day Tipanya was talking about her own content and I heard her say her own name, and I realized that I've been saying her name wrong this entire time because I thought about the name Tanya with pa in the middle, so it was Tipanya, but I think the nya is more like a cat, like Tipanya. Tipanya. So it's not Tipanya, it's Tipanya or something now. My brain is bugging, but I will raid into her. I met her at Dokomi, she was really cool. We have talked on stream. On YouTube, no raid today. Remember to hydrate. Thanks for dropping by on the Nando Express. Hope you enjoyed the ramblings of a madman. And have a good rest of your day, everyone. I'll be back Friday for GTA roleplay. Oh, and Friday I'll also be earlier on Junk and Bomb's channel as a guest. I get myself into so many things. Have a good one. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Hope to see you again soon. If not, thank you for being here on the journey. Remember to climb those stairs. Remember to stay determined. Remember, become the aura monster. I'm reversing the whole... I was building such a good narrative and I'm like, return to memes. Daniel, climb stairs. Hee hee, haha. Bye bye.